Has this ever happened to you? You've got a kid or an adult and they get marker right on a favorite pair of clothing. Well, I've got good news for you. The washable markers, the ones that have the bubbles on it, they actually do a pretty great job of just washing right out. So if somebody in your life has not capped the marker caps on correctly, did you know they can just wash right out? And did you know that mending your jeans can connect you to a wider world? Yeah. One of my favorite tools for mending my jeans is actually a washable marker. You can take a pair of jeans, yours or maybe somebody you know and love, and you can draw a line right on top of your jeans. And then when you sew your patch on or your thread on, it'll be straight. You don't have to have anything straight. A mended patch, no matter what, is great. You can get some thread from a variety of places. Maybe you already have some. And, global citizenship can look a lot of ways. So maybe it means watching Doctor Who on the BBC, winding down. Maybe it means, protesting detentions of immigrant neighbors because there's no due process and it seems like a bad idea to you. Or maybe it just means like you're a global citizen because you want to buy the cheapest clothing for your kids because they just keep growing up, or for you. So we are connected in a global world by our ideas and our news and our policy and our governments, but we're also just connected by stuff, right? And who buys it, where it comes from, how it's used, where it ends up, it's kind of everywhere. A lot of people are talking about tariffs right now, right? And I didn't really realize in all this talk about tariffs that actually it's not just the tariff that makes a cheaper product, although sometimes it is. In the case of Shein, you get a cheaper product by just knowing the loopholes in American policy. So when Shein, before Shein was created, back in the Obama days, there's something called the de minimis exception, which means basically too little to matter. And so basically there is a number, which means like, oh, you know what? We're not going to care about that. That seems like too little to care about. We're not going to track down every person coming from every place on every vacation and see how much they're spending. And so that number was set to $800. And so if you are ordering something for less than $800, you don't have to pay a tariff on it. Meanwhile, other fast fashion companies like Forever 21, H&M, when they are purchasing goods, manufacturing them in a separate country and then bringing them into the United States where you can like try them on in a dressing room, those companies are paying tariffs. But if you have under $800, you can pay for less. Now, number is currently being debated, and maybe when you watch this, it'll be a different number. And tariffs and policy is something that we're talking about quite a bit. And so Shein was selling goods directly to consumers on their website and making and skipping out on the tariff because they would ship directly to a consumer. They were also having some cheap goods for some other reasons, like for instance, they wouldn't really pay designers. They would look at trends that were happening, and then they would copy those trends with a talented team of seamstresses and tailors and people who could cut a copy of a pattern. And there's actually one documented example. Helen Myrie, or Helen Moo on Instagram, she posted in about October of 2024 that her design, she's a knitwear designer, was completely ripped off. And she had not only used her design, but they actually used her photos. They used her photos to sell their product. She bought it, she compared it. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was maybe close enough for some people. And so Shein was able to change and carve out this market for themselves, not through one bad actor, but through a variety of ways. They were able to skimp on design and labor and a tariff exemption to get a successful product. And also, they maybe didn't pay people that well either. And that's not a new example. Like, remember the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory? There's a great article of it on history.com. And in 1911, there was a factory fire where 146 workers died. Why? Not just because there was a fire, but because there was a fire and the fire exits were locked. And the people who were running the factory wanted people to not take bathroom breaks or not take any breaks or work as long as possible. After that, there was a huge push. There was a push before, but after 146 people died, most of them young girls, the International Ladies Garment Worker Union got a push and continued to unionize and fight for fair labor and fair pay. And that's still happening right now. In LA right now, there's a place called the Garment Workers Center, and they're asking people to be fair, asking people to be transparent, and fighting for workers' rights. And they're not by themselves. Cameron Russell is a model and has been for a long time, and she advocates for a better fashion industry. There's a good article of her on Vogue, Russell, Russell. But we're all interconnected when it comes to global fashion, right? Every piece of clothing that we wear is handmade by somebody somewhere, right? And so the problems that we are seeing in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory didn't happen just in the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. They also happened in Bangladesh not that long ago. In 2013, a report from the UK said that 1,100 people died in a major factory collapse, even though there were warning signs, even though there were problems that could have been fixed, even though there was maybe something that could have prevented these deaths at massive scale in this factory town. And so while it happens in America, it also happens other places, but it's not that companies really don't want us to think about that very often. They don't want us to think about how people were getting paid when they picked our strawberries or when they made our jeans. But I do think it is important to ask the right questions, right? My mom was a home economics teacher. Later, that term kind of came out of vogue, and she was a FACS teacher, family and consumer science. But the home economics of it all wasn't just about the home, right? When you're in public education, you can talk about econ, not just home economics. You can talk about climate science. You can talk about U.S. government relations, or my favorite one, you can talk about reading, writing, speaking, and literacy, and how these things connect with us, and how they can connect us to this wider world, and how they can connect us to fair labor practices. You know, sometimes you just need a pair of jeans that will fit. I mean, parsing the complexity of who made your jeans and how much they got paid and if they had excess dye, did it go into the river? Sometimes that can just be too complex, especially when companies don't want you to know where you bought your jeans. So while I think it is hard to find, like I said, I do think it is an important question to ask. One of my favorite people to follow on this topic is called Amanda Lee McCarty, and she has an Instagram page called Clothes Horse, along with a podcast called Clothes Horse. She was a buyer for fast fashion, and one of her catchphrases is, "It's cheap because somebody didn't get paid," which I think is an apropos way to look at fashion in 2025. So I'm going to ask you to mend your jeans. Now, maybe you don't want to mend them. It's a long time. I haven't gone very far in this whole conversation. But maybe you want to find a tailor in your town, and maybe you can go ask them to repair a zipper for you. And maybe they're going to do it a lot faster than you did. Maybe you want to volunteer at a fix-it clinic because you know how to fix one thing really well. Maybe you want to take a different pair maybe you want to take a different skill into the fix-it clinic. Maybe, and this is one of my favorite ways to mend, you take a pair of snow pants that has been exhausted, has holes in the knees, but probably still would keep people warm, but maybe not all winter, especially if there's holes in the knees. Go on eBay, buy a big patch, 6 inches big or something, with whatever that kid's favorite show is. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sounds great. You can get a big patch, and you can put that patch on top of the snow pants, and then you can have a pair of snow pants that works and a kid who's super happy about their snow pants that nobody else have. And I would argue that mending your work and doing something that's very, very local actually has a global impact. By taking yourself out of a couple garment purchases, and then that allows you greater scrutiny when you do buy new, and you can advocate a little harder with your dollar, and you can maybe have a little bit more time to look and see whatever you're at. So let's find some ways wherever we are to take care of ourselves and take care of our future by taking care of our kids, taking care of our jeans, taking care of our neighbors, taking care of our garment sewists, taking care of our environment, and taking care of our future. And besides, it looks pretty cute too.